So, when I sent up cameras, I didn't really hear you when you were talking about Daddy Curtis.
Yes.
Yeah, would you be able to tell me a little bit about Daddy Curtis and what the shop looked
Well,
like?
he had this pharmacy. It was a kind of a apothecary place. A big shop he had now, and people went into him for cures, different cures. And if you had, as I say, if you got a sting, and he was able to cure things that maybe doctors wouldn't be familiar with, stings and all that kind of stuff. And you got medicine for him. He made up the medicine, I think, himself, like, you know what I mean? And he was a great man for different things, warts and all that sort of stuff, curing all those kind of things that normally you wouldn't go to the chemist for. Or if you did, it would be different kinds of cures they'd have to what Daddy Curtis has. But he was famous now. He was famous at the time.
What did his shop look like?
It was a long kind of a shop, and as far as I can remember, it had tiles on the floor, those old kind of tiles, you know what I mean? But like you just went in, and he came down from the back of the shop. He had a kind of like glass porch thing, what we call now, you know, that people have built onto houses. Sunroof, yes, conservatory, and he had that, and he used to do all kinds of things down there. He probably made mixtures of different medicines and that down there, but he'd come through the shop and he'd come up to the counter to you.
And there was a balcony in it, you were saying?
There was a balcony up over, and the wife used to come down as well. I think she probably did some of the medicines or whatever, or helped him. And they had a daughter as well. But I don't know I think they were Protestant. I'm not 100% sure now. I think they were Protestant. But whether they came from another county, I would imagine they did. They wouldn't have been born and bred in Waterford. I know, but that shop was there for years. Yeah. As far as I can remember, as long as I can remember. And then, you see, it was made into a kind of apartments, say, later on, or flats as they called them in them days, you know. So it's that part of Barrack Street has changed drastically that way.
And would you have known what Daddy Curtis' name was?
Oh God, we always knew him as Daddy Curtis. Now whether it was William, I wouldn't know his first name now, because in that stage we only always called him as Daddy Curtis. Yeah.
Yeah, and
a little small man he was. A small man, a dapper man, you know what I mean? Very fast on the feet, and the wife was the same. Two small people, and not tall.
And the daughter, I hear she's beautiful.
So. I'd say so, yeah, but we wouldn't, well, I'd remember the daughter. She wasn't very tall either. And I'd say the mother was good looking in her day, the lady, and Daddy Curtis, I think he wore glasses now, not 100% sure now, you know. But having said that, like, being a child, you wouldn't take much notice of that, really. I'd be only about 8 or 9 at the time, you know.
Do you remember any incidents or anything that might have happened in the shop, or?
No, I don't. Did someone tell you about
it? No. Or any accounts of when you went into the shop? Do you remember anything specific that might have happened at any point?
No, not really. No.
You were mentioning something about Hearns as well down below.
Oh, Hearns, the grocery shop at the corner there. And I'd be sent up for a few messages before I went to school. They must have opened around 8 o'clock in the morning. I think there's a daughter still alive. She's up by Sweetbriar Park, up there off of Newtown. And as far as I know, I think she's still alive. But the rest of them would be dead now. They had daughters there, and the father and the mother served in the shop, and the daughters did at some stage. But you just walked into, it was a long counter. They sold all kinds of, you know, sausages, all that kind of grocery stuff. And when I be sent up, I'd be saying like my mother might say, get bread and get soup, packets of soup. She must have been. My mother used to mix these packets of soups with the stew. And they could be mulligatawny. I remember that one was mulligatawny, one of them. And when I'd be going up the road, I'd be saying mulligatawny packets, this, packets that, you know, out loud, because I used to be afraid I'd forget it when I get to the shop. When I think about it.
Did you ever?
Not really, no, but I just have to stop and think, now what did she say, what else did she say? You know, and I just crossed the road, but there were no cars in them days, really. Very few cars. You'd come across just at the corner. Now, if you wouldn't cross that road, you'd have to look nowadays with the cars coming round the corner and the cars coming across the Mayor's Walk.
Yeah. What would have been on the roads then in those days?
There'd be, oh yeah, there was a coal yard in the Mayor's Walk. Do you know where your carpets is now? Murphy's carpets, you know, Qualitine and all those places. That was a kind of, up from that was a what you call coal yard. They sold coal and they sold probably turf. And there used to be lorries outside on the other side delivering the coal to maybe up the town.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Hendersons, the post office, post office Hendersons.
Yes, on the left hand side.
Yeah.
Now there was a little street, it was known as Sheep's Lane. And down from that was where that pub is, was known as, what was it known as? I think crossing Buttermilk Lane. Buttermilk Lane was opposite to where my aunt lived. That's known as Martin's Avenue now. St. Martin's Avenue.
And the lane is gone, is it?
Yeah.
The lane that you're trying to think of?
The lane is gone, but it's St. Martin's Avenue now, in the Mayor's Walk. And there's all new houses built there. All the old houses were knocked and new houses built on the same side, like, you know. But there was Robinson's Lane then in the Mayor's Walk. That was near where, was that Murphy's tiles are.
Yeah, and that
That's still there. That's still there, Robinson's Lane.
And that went on to Short Course, did it?
It went on to Short Course, yeah. Narrow Lane, all small houses there too, at the time. And then there was Five Valley Lane, going on down onto Ballybricken. And the church then was on the right hand side as you went up Short Course, Ballybricken Church. I was christened there. I was maybe first communion in Ballybricken, and I made my confirmation. So you remember all these things, don't you? Yeah. And there's an awful lot buried there. There's no one buried belong to me there now. All my own people are buried out in Faitlick, because that's where my father came from.
But the Hendersons, they were the...
I don't know, were the owners of the post office, or were they doing it, or were they just renting it out? I'd say they were the owners. It was a little small post office, very small.
And that was the one that's on Barrack Street?
That's the one that's on Barrack Street, yeah.
It would have been across from...
Curtis, Paddy Curtis's shop, yeah. And then there was little houses down below that. And then down that way there was Sheep's Lane. One was Sheep's Lane, one was... what was the other now? Buttermilk Lane, was it? Not 100% sure. They all had these little names over it, but now they're all gone. All those houses are gone.
And
there was new houses built at the corner there of Barrack Street again.
And what kind of characters were the Hendersons?
A bit old-fashioned, I'd say now. You know, you wouldn't want to be kind of... If you were talking or anything, they say, you know, don't be noisy. You know, that kind of old-fashioned, old maids, as we used to call them. They were never married, to see the two sisters. As far as I can remember, ran the post office, and they lived over it.
That was one of the more politer accounts that I've heard about it.
Oh, did you? What did you hear?
I heard that they were a bit cantankerous.
Oh yes, they were. That's a word I should have used. They're cantankerous. Very narky, as we call it in nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be very nice to children if children were making noise or anything now, you know. Yeah. Why did you hear a few stories? I say you did.
I heard a couple.
I say so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that was the only post office at that end of the street, you see.
And there was another one, was there?
Well, then the other one moved up. The other one opened up then, as I said, at the corner Short Course. That's in it now. But there was no post office between. The only post office for us would have been that one in Barrack Street. Unless we wanted to go downtown to the GPO.
Yeah.
Down on the quay. Other than that, there was no nearer post office. And then down from us, down New Street, Reddy's pub was on the corner as you went over Stephen Street. There was another pub there. So, you know, there was little pubs everywhere. Mordens in the Mayor's Walk. And at the corner of the Mayor's Walk, Quinlan's had a milk, used to sell milk. And that's where the tap room is. You probably don't know that now. That's the tap room.
Yeah.
And where we used to go to get the chips too was down on Delicatos in John Street.
Oh yeah, the
That was
Delicatos.
famous now.
Yeah.
That was famous. Cheaper.
I've been hearing about them as
Yeah,
well a bit.
yeah.
But your son, I can't remember his name now, Michael.
Michael, yeah.
Michael, yeah. How did he get on in Mount Sion?
Okay now.
Yeah.
Okay, one fella now caught him by the jumper and said to him, "You're laughing at me." You know, this kind of scene. But my Michael fell in the playground one time. He was playing football and he had to, your man wouldn't let him home. Wouldn't let him home, and I don't know how we got home afterwards. I think somebody brought him home because he couldn't walk on the knee, and he had to get stitches, and he had to get part of the bone. He cracked the bone in his knee, and he's so tall, you see.
Yeah.
And what they did say in Arkeen at the time that could set in would be arthritis in his 30s. Now actually he's 39 now, so far so good. It hasn't set in. But you see, he was so tall and the knees just gave out when he fell.
Were there anyone else in your family that went to Mount Sion?
My brothers, my 3 brothers went to Mount Sion. My eldest brother Bill now, he's living in Clonmel, he's 82. Then my other brother went there and he left at 15, he hated school. And then my youngest brother left at 7 because he got knocked down coming out of Mount Sion with a car. He had a coat over his head in them days. It was pouring rain, never looked. The car hit him, but my mother took him out of Mount Sion and sent him to De La Salle, Stephen Street. That's where he ended up in De La Salle. Then he went to the college, De La Salle College, for a few years.
I suppose it would have been a rarity for a car to come down the road, would it?
That's what I'm saying, but he never looked, you see. I think it was Thompson's, some of the Thompsons that have the funeral, somebody belonged to them, knocked him down. But he was lucky, he wasn't killed. He got concussed all right and he was in the infirmary for a few days. But he complained of headaches for a while, but he got all right after that.
Yeah.
He's still alive and he's living up in Tralee now for the last, 49 years.
Talking about the Thompsons, would you have any stories about the Thompsons at all?
At the funeral Thompsons, not really. They had a pub. They had the pub in the front of the house, and I don't know how they managed. They must have had the funeral place at the back, but you know it's totally state of the art, like, you know what I mean? Kind of a funeral place. Because my husband was up there. We brought him to. He died in Arkeen. He was brought by Thompsons to the funeral parlour up there, and I think. Where was my mother brought to? Yeah, my mother was brought to Thompson's as well, yeah.
And did you ever, when you were kids, go in to see bodies laid out, or?
No, we didn't, never did it. No.
No.
Well, it would be a bit, well, I won't say out the way for us, but we'd never think of going up.
Yeah.
But what we did do, I'll make you laugh, in O'Brien Street, lots of people, when they died, they were laid out in their own houses. And the woman next door's daughter died, and of course we went in to see her, and of course we went in. We went a bit afraid now, we were about 8 or 9 at the time, young children, and we got biscuits and we got lemonade. But that's how we went in, we didn't pray. I'm sure we probably knelt down and said a prayer. The girl was young when she died, but that didn't bother us. We just went in because we were going to get lemonade and biscuits, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, when you think about the innocence of us.
Times have changed, do you think?
Oh God, without a doubt.
For the good or bad?
Well, I wouldn't say...
Or just a change?
Yeah, it's a change. And I've said to my daughter now, Mary, when I was growing up, mother, forget about it. That was in the 50s and 40s, forget about it. Times have changed. That's all she'll tell you. Times have changed, which they have drastically. Because now the young children are so well up. I mean, my grandson now, if he wasn't down in Vaguely, he'd be in on this DS, or if not, television. And he'd be playing the games on his phone. Hello, a phone. We didn't even get a phone, an ordinary phone, until we moved to Johns Park. And if we never, when we moved to Johns Park first, my mother hadn't the phone. My brothers were both working in England. They used to ring the candy store. And somebody come over from the candy store to tell my mother there was a phone call for her. And there was just a little door, and you just opened the door and you spoke to the person for maybe 10 minutes. That was the lot. But then when my mother got the phone, she had the phone in the house, and that was it.
So when you were living on O'Brien Street, how would you make a phone call?
I never remember my mother making a phone call. But what she did get was if somebody died, you got a telegram. A telegram to tell you such a person was dead. That's how we got, when my mother's brothers died in America now, she would have got a telegram, because there were no phones for them to ring us. You know, that's how we got to know the person was dead.
Yeah. And how foreign was the TV?
Foreign. Across foreign. We got a radio one time up on O'Brien Street, and it was a big square radio. We were all sitting around listening to Joel and Anne, question time, and we'd be trying to answer the questions in the night time, all sitting around this radio.
So what did you do for entertainment other than that?
Not much really, but you see, we went outside. We were able to go outside in O'Brien Street, play games. And when I got my holidays from school, say July like they are now, we went down the park and we played outside. We had a skipping rope. We had a little top, and you spun the top, went around with this whip kind of thing, spinning this top. And we played ball up against the wall. And there was one girl, God be merciful to her, she was able to play 3 with one hand, brilliant, as we used to say. We could play 2 all right, but not 3. She was brilliant now. And we played skipping, and O'Grady said, do this, take 2 giant steps. O'Grady said, do a scissors. And we stayed all day, and if we didn't do that, we'd be down the park. So we had plenty of entertainment. We were never bored. We didn't know what bored meant. The word bored meant. It would be dumb Dutch to us.
There was somebody telling me about the girls. I was asking, like, the girls play different games to the boys.
Boys, yeah.
But they were saying that the girls would have, like, rhymes and stuff like that. Would you remember
any? Bluebells, cockle shells, you know, that was one of them.
Yeah, would you remember it?
What was the other one then? We passed the ball to each other.
Yeah.
London Bridge is falling down, that was another one. In and out go darky bluebell, that was another one. And we'd play all these games to the skipping as well. You know what I mean? So they don't, you see, there's no children out there now. There's no children there anyway, but there's a woman down at the, further down there now, she minds children. She lets them out on that green, or she bring them into the park. But there's no such thing, you never see anyone playing beddies. Hopscotch they call it now. It was beddies with us. We'd have the chalk, mark out the path from 1 to 5, I think it was. And you play, and you'd have the stone, you throw the stone down, you'd kick it along to the next beddy, and the next beddy, oh look. They say to you now, what's beddies? You'd have to explain it to them. It's sad really in a way, because the children have they will not have memories that we had and still have. They won't have memories of now, say in 20 years' time.
Would you remember one of those rhymes from beginning to end by any chance?
I'm trying to think now.
Bluebells and cockle shells.
What was it? The other one was, there was a good few minutes. Bluebells, cockle shells. Oh, what was the rest of it now? and In and Out Go Darky Bluebell, that was another one. But I mean, you kind of forget them now when you won't be. It's so long ago now.
Yeah.
But you see, as I say, the children have none of those rhymes now.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we used to be able to skip. We used to have our own skipping rope, and if we didn't have a skipping rope, my father might go into George White's down O'Connell Street for a rope to swing the rope on either side, and then the other girls. And if you hit the rope, you were out. Then you had to swing the rope with somebody else. This is the way it went on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But as I say, like, we never ran, or we never played. We played skipping, all that kind of stuff. But we never ran races. We never had marathon races or walks or anything like that. Or we walked down Paddy Brown's Road, which is now, as you know, all houses, out the Cork Road. That was we had a car in our street, the Handlins they were called. And that car was taken out, polished up to the nines, to be an antique now.
Were they well off?
Not really, but the son worked in the post office, and he had a good job, and he was able to get this car. I say it might have been a two-door, maybe one of those old Fords or whatever you call it. It wouldn't be a sports model by any means. But this car was polished up to the nines, washed and cleaned and brought out every Sunday. Then after that, every Sunday they go for a spin in it, the mother, the son.
Did you go to Mass much when you were young?
Oh, we did. We went to Mass for Lent. More or less had to go to Mass for Lent.
Every day, like?
Yeah.
Every day?
Every morning. I often went down to St. John's to Mass, and then go to school after. Could you imagine them? I won't say anything.
Was there any time that you skived off trying to go to Mass?
No, there wasn't, no. I'd be afraid, sure. Be told on me. Someone would tell my mother she was seeing such a place, me. And I never missed school. You know the way youngsters now do what did they call it?
Mitchin or whatever?
Mitchin, yeah. That never happened in my time anyway.
No.
We'd be afraid, sure. Afraid. And I remember one day, one of the teachers wouldn't let us home to wait. Myself and my friend started crying, and she said, "Go in there now," inside it, into that shed. I think they were doing mashed potatoes or something. She made us eat this mashed potatoes. She wouldn't let us over her dinner. We always got our dinner at dinner time. You know what I mean? But we did do funny things though. When we were in 6th class, we put on the clock and half an hour. We all went home at 3 o'clock instead of half 3.
Did you get away with it?
Oh, we didn't, because the next day we were all put standing. She found out that the clock was put on. Oh God, when I think of it. We did, but they weren't bad things. They were just childish things, you know. And when the nun would go out of the room, we'd start dancing, because we'd be learning to dance the waltz, and we'd be in the cookery room, you see. We'd be dancing, waltzing around when she'd be gone out for half an hour. And she might catch us, she might not. What's all this noise for? We'd all stop dead. I remember some of them were cooking something one day, and somebody caught a tea towel and threw it in and into the pan of chips. Oh God, there was murder. Just messing, we messers at that stage.
And
that had been in 6th class.
How would you have made your way home?
Walked. We were only sure 5 minutes from the school. We were in the Sister Charity, which is now the handicap school on Parnell Street. That's where we went. I started there and finished there. So it was only, say, 5 minutes walk from down Newgate Street, New Street, across the road, and no cars to stop us. Down Spring Garden, not Spring Gardens, what's that other little street? Johns Avenue, and down onto the school then. And there was a garage next door to the school at the time. And the bank wasn't even there then. The Bank of Ireland that's there now. But that school is the same school. The front is the very same, and we used to go up the garden and we used to have processions every June to the Sacred Heart. There was a Sacred Heart statue up in the garden. I don't know whether that's still there or not, but there was a little bridge we crossed over down in Spring Gardens itself, right? Crossed over the bridge and we used to hear ourselves banging, running along the bridge, but that's gone. That was taken down because they had orphans in our school years ago. Well, when I mean orphans, maybe the mother had died and the father couldn't cope, and the children were put into this charity, the orphanage.
Yeah. Speaking about noises, would you ever have heard like the Barrack Street Band playing often?
Yeah, up on, where used they play now? Well, they still play, I think they used to play it on the park one time. And then they play up in our church every so often.
Yeah.
And I say they might be on the park as well, as I said to you. And they could be in, they were always in the St. Patrick's Day Parade, the St. Patrick's Band, all those bands, and the other one, the other pipe and drum band, you know that one? That always goes,
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Would they have ever been around Barrack Street?
Well, they practiced in this little house that was in Barrack Street. But where are they practicing now? They must have a newer place.
They're up on Green Street now. So
Green Street, yes.
Yeah, they've got a new, bigger
Oh,
one.
yes, of course, yeah.
So this was a house, was it?
It was a little house, yeah.
And was there many of them in it?
Well, I wouldn't say there were many in the band in them days, but there would be about maybe 20. They practiced in this little house. But all those houses are all gone now to all those new houses, you know? So they would have had to go to, where did you say?
Green Street.
Green Street, yeah.
Make
round
you
the
think
corner.
though how they'd all fit in there with their instruments.
Exactly. But I'd say the band wouldn't have been that big in them days. Maybe there might be 15, 20. Because we wouldn't be counting how many be in the band. But they were always a great band though. And they always played for charity. You know what I mean? But as I say, I'm trying to think of something else I forgot. Oh, there was famous characters. Mikey Moore, can't be messed with him. He was he worked for the farmers, and he was a character. And the joke went around one time. He was working for the farmers, and the farmer's wife said, "Mikey, what way would you like your egg?" He said, "Ma'am, was another one, ma'am." You know, it's innocent jokes. And when he ended up in St. Patrick's Hospital, and my mother went up to see her sister-in-law's father, and he didn't drink, and she brought up a bottle of stout, and she went over to Mikey Moore, and he said, "The blessings of God on you," he said. And he took the bottle of stout. He was delighted. That was like manna to him, to get this bottle of stout. But he was a character. He was. He had jokes I can't remember. That's the only one I could remember now offhand. He always had jokes. A character he was. And there was another poor fella, and we used to call him, but the poor fella had some kind of a complaint. Monkey tricks we used to call him. He used to be doing this up against the pole. Sure, the poor chap had some kind of an illness or something. But when I think of it, you know, we were so, with the innocence of us, you know.
I heard about monkey tricks before.
Monkey tricks, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He used to lean up against buildings
That's right.
in case they fall
do
down
this.
or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Was he ever up on Barrack Street or?
No, it was always down on New Street anyway. Could have been up around Barrack Street. I don't know where he lived now, because, do you know, Dad, you go down around the corner from the O'Brien Street, and there's all apartments there now on the left-hand side. That was an old people's home. It was very kind of, there was, you went up to the door, and there was a big long hall, and upstairs people had rooms there. Old people had rooms there. There was another one down in Bachelor's Walk, opposite the De La Salle. That's kind of apartments or something, flats now. But that was all changed in years after. But the old people, I'll make you laugh now, my brother was kind of he used to go with holy books. And my mother would say to him, did you give them holy books to them poor people? Yeah, he did. Yeah, I did, he said, and they used to give me treatments. And he took the treatments, of course. And then he used to make, what he used to make? He used to make buns, little buns, and he'd go over and sell it to the old people. Oh, he was something else, my brother. He had brains, like, he could do anything with his two hands. Hated school, used to do drawings. And if he was alive now, I say he went to over to England then, but he went to work on the cross-channel boats. My uncle was the purser there, and he got the two boys on the boats. So then he went to live in London, just outside London, and he could do anything with his two hands. And he never learned electrical work, he never learned it, but he was able to do anything. He was brilliant, and he put all these lights in his own house, on the ceilings and everything. Never did it. He went to the tech for a while, but hated school. Amazing. He had the brains, you see, to do all these things.
Were there any other characters around Barrack Street at the time that had nicknames like that? Because sometimes I wonder where they get the nicknames from.
But this is it, you'd wonder, wouldn't you? You would. There was a poor man, what's her name? Meg Lodi had a high boat, and we used to say she was going with Tommy, what was his name? Cooney. Tommy Cooney, he lived at Paddy Cooney, he lived across the road, and I think he used to have a dog. We thought they were going with one another, you know, the innocence, I think. They were probably, he used to come over probably for the paper to make Lodi. I think she used to sell papers, and she used to sell the school friend annual, as I told you. I paid £3 a week on the school friend, or £6 or whatever. And by the time Christmas came, I had to pay for. Went up and got the school friend annual. And then we used to exchange comics. There was a woman down in Patrick Street, Mal Larkin she was called. She used to have all these comics. But she wouldn't take, if there was a tear in the comic, she wouldn't give you anything for it. It had to be in good condition. My brother was always swapping comics over there.
Where was this?
At Mal Larkin, she had a shop in Patrick Street. And she used to sell old comics for newer comics. And my brother might get a comic every week, the Knockout or the Beano or the Dandy, all those. Are they still going?
I was only thinking about that recently. I think they're gone.
I say so.
I think they're gone. I remember getting them when I was a child as well.
That's what I'm saying.
Brilliant.
They were the Beano, the Dandy, the
Beano.
Knockout,
I loved the Beano.
the Hotspur.